Well, sir, and I'm a project officer at the Inner Northern Local Learning and Employment Network, and today I am with Jack Turner. How you going, Jack?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for joining us today. I guess we'll get stuck straight into it. What are you currently doing for work, and yeah, what's your position right now in terms of working and where you are at?
Yeah, sure. Well, with the current pandemic and the stage 4 restrictions that we're currently in, I'm ceased work at the moment because I am a personal trainer. Personal training has been fine up until stage 4, but the outdoor restrictions of 1 hour kind of closed all the personal training space down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for now, it's basically like trying to transition into the online space with personal training and dabbling into that realm a bit more. But it's, yeah, still fitness related, just not as face-to-face contact as I usually am. And yeah.
Sure. So right now you're working primarily for yourself. You're not attached to a gym or business at all?
Yeah, correct. So I used to work for a space called Fifth Element Wellness before COVID struck. And
Yep.
Since that, I made the decision to kind of step away and start doing my own thing. It kind of worked best with the outdoor training instead of being stuck to a gym. So I'm currently working under my own ABN, my own business. Yeah, my own schedule. It's actually quite nice. I prefer it more than working in the gym.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're in a bigger business, and then you made a transition to sort of working outside of that. We'll come back to that, I think, later on. But maybe just winding the clock back in time a bit, do you think that did you always know what you wanted to do? Say when you're in year 10, did you have a clear, is where you are right now kind of, did you always sort of know that you would be where you are today when you're in year 10?
Not at all, no. To give a bit of a background on what I've done and gone through my career, I kind of started off, in year 10, it was actually the year that I left and went overseas. So I dropped out of school and became a semi-professional soccer player at the age of 17. And so at that point in time, pretty much where I envisioned myself to be at 28, where I am now, was hopefully to be playing professional soccer somewhere in Europe. So yeah, to answer your question, no, definitely not. Didn't think I would be a personal trainer, no way at all. But yeah, I did the whole international soccer player thing for about four or 5 years, and then when I came home, in about 2013, I kind of decided that the closest thing to what I was currently doing, which is training all the time, was personal training. It was actually my mum who gave me the idea, and I was against it at the time. I was like, "Oh, look, Mum, I don't reckon I'm into personal training." But I did anyway. She convinced me. She actually paid for my personal training course, to be honest. And then, and then we are, 7 or 8 years later, still in the industry, still enjoying it, and really, really, loving helping people and work people one-on-one.
Yeah. And so, in high school, did you have any other interests, like any other career interests, or were you sort of pretty focused on sport at the time? Was there any other interests that you had?
Yeah, so I wasn't the best at school, if I'm completely honest, but I went to boarding school, and to get into the boarding school, I had to have a level of score and do well. So I was putting a lot of effort in, but I didn't actually know what direction it was going to take me. I was quite interested in architecture, and I wasn't so bad at maths and physics because it was quite logical. I could get my head around that, but I wasn't really sure on where that was going to take me. And then in the background the whole time, I was really pursuing sport with athletics and soccer and all that. But it was more of a chance of luck that I got selected to go overseas and play soccer. If that didn't happen, I'm not sure where that would have taken me. I most likely would have gone down the architecture route, I think, because one of my best mates, he was doing that as well. So I quite liked having that like to bounce off with him in our friendship.
Yeah.
To truthfully answer your question, I didn't really know. I had no idea like what the outcome was going to be. And then when the soccer thing happened, I was like, okay, maybe this is where it takes me. This is where I go.
Yeah. So you've gone from high school, you've moved to Melbourne from regional Victoria, and then you've gone overseas at a young age. Was it in year 11?
Yeah, it was the end of year 10. So I was, start of year 11. So I was just about to turn 17. Yeah.
And did you complete VCE?
So no, didn't complete VCE. I tried doing the international homeschooling.
Baccalaureate?
Yeah, it was quite difficult with the level of training that I was doing, and everything was like I had to be self-motivated to get it done. So I kind of like being young and not really having anyone to hold me accountable to it. It slowly like fell away for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I guess looking at it through a pathways lens, it's kind of your time spent over there specializing in, say, soccer was obviously very formative in where you are today. You've gone over there and spent, was it 4 years playing soccer?
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah. Coming home and then doing the personal training qualification. I guess, you could argue that was a bit of an apprenticeship in itself, spending that time over there. How did that influence your personal training work, your experience overseas playing soccer?
Yeah, so like the inside of what it's like in a professional team is there's a lot of like physical gym training as like accompanied with the actual soccer training that you do. So like we were in the gym, 3 to 5 days a week on top of training 6 days a week or 5 days a week and playing one game on the weekend. So like from a pretty young age, I was like getting quite used to being in that space. So it was really quite familiar for me. And like we did lots of different exercises, and we had trainers who were training us and physios and all that sort of stuff. So my exposure to the actual world of training from a young age was quite at a high level. So that pretty much shaped my whole experience coming back into personal training when I eventually started. It was kind of like I'd already learnt it all, so we're going through the course and it's like, well, this is all the stuff I did when I was playing. So it was really familiar to me. So it kind of made sense, and I could see why my mum like recommended me do it in the first place, because it all started to click into line as I started to pursue it a bit more. So yeah, it was definitely the foundation to me being where I am now, for sure. Because I can also relate with athletes now a lot as well, because I do train some young athletes, and I have trained some young soccer players before. And I think if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't be able to resonate with those kids or to to share my experience as well.
Of course. And obviously you've been in the industry for 6 years now as a personal trainer. Where you are right now to where you started, there's obviously a bit of distance there. So could you explain to me sort of your entry into the industry and how it changed over the years and what was important in terms of your development as a personal trainer and becoming more specialized?
Yeah, so my entry into the industry was I actually had a personal trainer who then became a mentor of mine. And you've met Mitch before. He's a good mate of ours. And he, so I was somewhat skeptical. He was training me for a bit because I was still pretty keen to play at a high level in soccer. So I thought, why not have a personal trainer try and help me do that? And he pretty much showed me the ways of like the other options there are in fitness, or the other ways there are in training. And we actually went more down like the yoga and meditation path at that stage, because I was having a lot of issues with mental health, trying to deal with coming back from overseas and feeling like a failure and all those sorts of mindsets that I was falling into. And so, yeah, that was my introduction into, wow, this is what personal training could actually be. It doesn't have to be just boys in the gym throwing down weights, like trying to get super jacked. So there's elements of that, and that's quite fun as well. But the the mindfulness and the other aspect really appealed to me, and that sort of led to me specializing in a bit more yoga, a bit more meditation practices, and then now it's led me into a more like mindful movement type of practice that I do now.
And say if you were to have a conversation with that Jack who was just entering into the industry, how might that discussion go? What would you what words of wisdom would you pass on to that former, younger, less experienced Jack?
I think like what just comes to my mind when I'm thinking about it is like I put this persona on what a personal trainer was when I was back then. I just like kind of belittled them. I was like, oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about. They're just big meatheads, just trying to like, I don't know. I just had like an idea of what a personal trainer was. And I think that's why I was so skeptical when my mum was originally like pushing me into it. And so if I had a conversation, I'd kind of be like, there's a lot more to like personal training and being a coach than what meets the eye, like you have an opportunity on the daily to work one-on-one with a person and to influence their lives in a positive way. It's much more fulfilling than just like throwing weights around in a gym. There's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more complexities, and it's quite a fulfilling pathway. So I guess I would just kind of to my former self just check my ego a little bit, and just to like force me to have a look from a step back to see what these people are actually doing, and it gives you a greater perspective. Yeah.
No, that's good. So I guess you've highlighted some of the benefits there. What would be the best thing that you've learnt, or the best experience, or the most enjoyable part of your job, and what have been some of the more challenging parts of like the industry and your career along the way?
So there's like 3 questions there, right? What did I learn?
What's been one of the biggest things you've learned, or the most enjoyable part of your job, and what's been one of the bigger challenges in your job over the years?
Yeah, sure. So the best thing I've learned, I think, is the art of listening to people, and actually, instead of making it about myself, like, oh, how am I helping this person, being like, how can I be of service to this person that needs my help? So you're listening to what the client actually needs, and then responding in a way that doesn't make it about you. Because I find with a lot of people that I have conversations with just outside of personal training, just on the daily, you might have a problem that you're seeking, not for them to answer your problems, but more just to, I don't know, for someone to listen to, and they start away trying to fix, or they're trying to like relate it back to themselves, and they're trying to make it about them. When really all you need is someone just to sit there and listen and understand what you're actually going through. And then that can help move through your path. So that's probably the biggest thing I've learned. What was the other question? I forgot it.
What's been one of the bigger challenges? What's been over the years, or on each day, or just in general? What's been one thing that you've noticed that you've had to overcome?
It would be like the difficulty of running your own business, like anyone would go through with a small business. Like when you're working for yourself, it's basically just you that you're accountable for. It's not, you can't rely on other people. You can't point the finger. You can't point the blame. It's literally just you and your business and how you respond. So that the biggest learnings would be that, like, making myself accountable to the way that, I interact with my clients. And if someone leaves because they didn't enjoy the service, I have to take that on. It's my responsibility. It's not anyone else's. I can't point the blame back on the person. Like, you have to really own that. And I think that's really challenging, to kind of like take a check to your ego for a bit, to realize that you're not just like God's gift to the world, that you actually have to like do some work and really work on these areas of your business to make it work. It's a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah, there's not your business. There's not much gap between your business and you. It's sort of, you
Yeah,
are
the business.
your own boss. Yeah, you are the business. So I guess there's that highly personal element to it, in dealing with people and yourself, which can be challenging at times when, interacting and providing a service to, I guess, anyone who walks through the door or inquires with you. Looking back into the future, looking back into the past. Looking into the past. If
Oh,
What would you? Yeah, before before you went overseas and while you're at school, if you had some advice to give your 16-year-old self, what would that be?
oh, probably not career
Looking back,
related. Is that career related?
well, just while you're at school and thinking about what direction to go into the future, and
Yeah, sure.
it could be career, it could be personal related, and how that shapes career decisions, I guess.
Yeah, like I stressed a lot about um, like the image that I was trying to portray to people,
Mm-hmm.
and if there was anything I'd try and do, it would be to change the way that I felt about myself in an environment of people. Like
Mm-hmm.
not trying to, because I always tried to be the sporty guy or the, oh, I'm going overseas guy, or like this person that was trying to like achieve high level things. And and I think if I was just a bit more relaxed about it, it would have felt like a much easier process. Because then
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of that, when I came home, I had all these identity issues about this is who I've portrayed myself for as so long, and
Mm-hmm.
like built up an image of I have to be a certain way, that it caused
Mm-hmm.
me so much. So if I was to change that, I'd just kind of be like, this is who you are now. Things might change tomorrow, or in the next year, you might turn into a different version of yourself because of what you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing. You don't have to act like you're that person now, or it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to change the way that you really are, like deep down.
Sure.
You can just be yourself doing different things. It doesn't really change who you
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Is it just,
um, when, say, if you were to have a conversation with somebody who's studying this fitness 3 and 4 right now, or they've just finished, what advice would you give them to enter the industry and to avoid some of the common problems that people have, or what general advice would you give somebody who's entering into the industry, and what would you say to them?
find a good mentor. That's it. Like, if you're going through the course, you're doing your 3-4, it's literally just a certificate which will, make you legally like able to train people. But all the real
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you learn from people who are in a position that you want to be in, or better than you, or have done more training or whatever. So all the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I learned, all the stuff that I really find is impactful in people's life now, is everything that I've learned
Mm-hmm.
after. And
Mm-hmm.
it's from being in an environment where I've found mentors and found people who want to help me, and
Yeah.
I believe in what they do, and those people
Yeah.
have kind of shaped me into who I am. Because I didn't just do a course and become the trainer that I am today, or the person I am today. I'm basically shaped by the mentors and people who have guided me through the whole process.
And would you say, practicing what you preach, you're training a certain way, and you're giving people programs. So what sort of standards do you hold for yourself?
Yeah, like you've got to be, like, if you want to do anything well and be successful in what you do, you have to be into it. So for me, like, I train, 6 days a week. I absolutely friggin' love it. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
pretty much can't go from training. If anything, like,
Mm-hmm.
I actually have to force myself not to train because I train too
Mm-hmm.
much. So
Mm-hmm.
if I was a trainer that didn't do that, then if you're a customer coming to me being like, this bloke
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even friggin' do anything, then you're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna listen to any of the stuff. So if I'm practicing what I'm preaching and actually believe in the philosophy that I'm trying to that I'm trying to teach people and help with people, then you're going to make a difference. You have to practice.
Yeah.
And you have to love it.
And of course, like anything, I guess, when obviously addressing the elephant in the room at this point in time, with the current circumstances in Melbourne, especially with COVID-19, what did that process look like for you as your work schedule got disrupted? Have you always been working for yourself in this time, and how did you manage that change, and did any opportunities come from it, and what other challenges arose?
Yeah, so I'm always really careful when I talk about the pandemic with my current situation, because things actually worked out quite well for me, and I'm quite aware that it didn't work out as well for a lot of people. So I'm very cautious of coming across like boasting or arrogant when it comes to this whole pandemic. But I was basically working for a gym which I hold very close to my heart, and the Fifth Element Wellness in Fitzroy North, and they taught me a lot, and I was there for 2 years, and they really shaped me into the trainer that I've become today. And it was time for me to leave though. So I was planning on leaving for about 6 months. Didn't really know how I was going to make it happen. I was a bit unsure of the exit strategy. And when the pandemic happened, the gyms just closed down. So that gave me the golden window to pretty much have a reason as to why I could leave the gym. And then that transitioned me straight into running my own business again, because I used to run my own business for 5 years before, and then I chose to take a massive pay cut to learn from some of the best in the industry, which then just shaped me to doing my own thing now, which is what I enjoy the most. So yeah, like as bad as it is not being able to use a gym or anything like that, I was able to easily transition my whole business outside and doing outdoor training now. Up until stage 4 though, where stage 4 basically just stopped the whole show. So my experience of all of that has been quite good. And it's been quite positive from the client's perspective as well, like being able to get outdoors more, being able to be like in nature, being in the park, seeing dogs running around. Like people just love seeing dogs. Like there's all these little things that people are like starting to really enjoy about being outdoors in the pandemic. But there's a lot of lives that have been really just disrupted by this whole thing. So I'm cautious as to not boast too much. But it's been good in one regard until stage 4 locked the whole thing down. But I can only see good things happening as we start to come out of the restrictions. Things are going to pick right back up.
I think that's all we've got time for today, Jack. But thank you for giving us your time and sharing your insights. It's I'm sure it'd be very valuable for anyone to listen to. And thanks again.
No worries.